Alright, we're almost done here. We just have a few minor things left to do a nice cleanup. We're going to start out by adding a little contact us, some information in here. So I'm just going to put in a contact at creativesolutions.com. And I'm going to go ahead and add in here a little href, which mail to, and I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. And so this will make a nice link that when someone clicks on it, will open up their default mail client. Let's take a nice little look at that. There we go. Nice and centered there for us. And then finally, I'm going to add just a fake phone number in here. You'll obviously want to use your phone number or your client's phone number, whoever you're setting this portfolio up for. And let's take a look. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. Contacts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. All right. And so let's just do some, there's some minor things about here. The colors could be a little bit fresher. There's a little bit too much space in between some of this stuff. There's a huge gap here at the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and just clean this up a little bit. So if we hop over to styles, the first thing I want to do is give us a little bit better color. So for this background blue color, what I want to do is I want to actually add in a linear gradient. I'm going to do a linear gradient. We'll go from this blue color here to maybe a lighter color, E5, E5FF. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, and so we have this nice smooth gradient now coming down. That looks pretty good to me. Obviously, you can play around with these colors to see what you want. There's lots of color pickers to choose from out there on the internet. Alright, so now for our page, I'm going to adjust the background here as well. I'm going to do another linear gradient. And this time, let's have it go to E6, E6, E6. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, as we scroll down, we get a nice transition where it goes from light to something a little darker, and the body goes from dark to light. So we get a nice little, looks really smooth. To the eye, can't tell too much, but it's pretty nice in there. I like it. Again, feel free to choose the colors you would like. And then I want to make this still a little bit stark contrast here between the two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a nice box shadow. And these are the parameters I'm going to set, 200 pixels, and so these first two are an offset, so if you want, you could, I'll just preview it for you. So this is a left offset, and let me just make this black. So let's reload here. I'll start with some smaller numbers so you can see what each one of these does. So our offset here, 10 pixels, that's how many pixels to the right we want to do. So if I set this really high, it'll make it look like our page here is really far above this thing. And then again, this gives us a Y offset up and down. So if we do 100 here, it won't start until lower. So it looks like our page is actually floating quite a bit up above. But I'm going to go with 0. So I want it to go directly underneath. And this here is how wide the shadow should spread out around the thing. So you get a nice little small, with 10 pixels you get something small like that. I want to go with something a little bit bigger so we have a nice blend between the two. I'm going to go with 200 pixels. So now we get a nice blend between the front and the back. I think it's a little bit too dark, so I'm going to increase this a little bit. So remember, 0 is black and F is white. So I'm going to try somewhere in between. I'm going to go with 5, 5, 5. Yeah, that looks pretty nice to me. I like the way that looks, especially as you scroll down and the shadow stays as the gradient gets a little bit lighter. Really like that. We're going to keep that there. And now this top bar, we're going to add a gradient to that background. And this time we're going to actually use a radial gradient. And I'm going to go from white, which is all Fs, to, let's see what it looks like with the color that we have there. So the first first color is the center, and the second color is the outside. And so it's going from white out to this tannish color. I think I'm going to darken that up in a bit. So I'm going to go with FFFB3. There we go. I like that. So it gives us a nice glowing effect on our creative solutions there. Okay. The next thing I want to do is there's just too much spacing between these. There's too much here. And that had to do with in our sections tag, we had put a min height of 800 pixels just to preview the jumping between them. So I'm just going to delete that altogether. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's much better. So now that we have content, jumping between these isn't an issue. Excellent. Make sure our logos still switch fine. Yep, looks like everything's working quite well. Excellent. And now the only thing left is I want these to be a little bit more dynamic, these links here. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the menu hover. I'm going to add an animation to these. I want them to wobble when you're hovering over them. So I'm going to create an animation called wobble. We'll start out with 1 second, see if it works well for us. And again, we use keyframes to specify our animation. We're going to call it wobble. And we're going to use a transform. And we're going to start at 0. We're not going to have any sort of rotation on it. But we're going to wobble back and forth. So I'm going to create 4 of these. One for when we're at 25%, one for when we're at 75%, and one for when we're finished. And I'm going to say let's rotate minus 10 degrees to a positive 10 degrees. And then infinite, of course, we're just going to loop over this again and again. So let's see what that looks like. So when I hover over these, I get a nice wobble on them. I think that wobble's a little bit too big, but it makes it really stand out. So I'm going to reduce the wobble though, just down to 5. See if I like that. That's a little bit better. Maybe too much still, so I'm going to go down to 2. See how I like that. 2 seems perfect to me. It's not too much, but you still get this nice little wobbling going on. Excellent. So, there you have it. You have this nice, simple layout with some professional style looking stuff. You have this nice transitioning slideshow. Very nice. You have this logos section, which lets you thumbnail through things. You have a very basic contact us section. And we have a nice grid gallery for our thumbnails, for our graphic design. And that's it. We're done. We have this very beautiful, very simple layout for a nice portfolio ready to go.